Hey,
Yeah.
hello everybody. We're going live. We're going to let you all wait to see us on Twitter or Instagram. We're not on Instagram, unfortunately. So let me make sure. I see us there. Okay, so we are on Twitter, but I don't really. I don't see us yet on Twitter, so I'm going to see what's kind of going on yet with that. Sometimes StreamYard misbehaves, people. So let's just see. Let me try to correct this with it. Yeah, because you don't see it on Twitter yet either, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I just see a link. Okay, I'm going to try it again. Edit. Let's see. Twitter. Y'all, we're going to get started in a moment. You guys are you're patient with me. It's okay. You guys get it. This is my brother, Mondrian.
Hello.
He's great.
Oh,
We're both tired. I don't have any excuses really to be tired. Yes, I'm running for office, but he's like raising 4 human beings and works full time.
Well, actually, last night was a late night, but it was because last night was late night because my wife, thank goodness, she's amazing and has everybody's schedule, and so she knew. So the Girl Scouts were actually coming to my practice at the end of the night last night. To do because I do like the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, the day at the vet, and so they actually came last night, but I wasn't aware that they were supposed to be there that night.
Oh my gosh!
So literally, like an hour before we closed, they were like, "Oh, the Girl Scouts are coming." I'm like, "What?" So, but it went great. It went great. I had my whole spiel, and then they brought all their teddy bears. And so we did the teddy bear. We finish up with doing the teddy bear surgery at the end of the end of the night. And so, but it was pretty. It's pretty late. I'm like, because we close at 7:00. I'm like, these kids gotta go. Like that's my kid's bedtime. So
yeah. Although I had heard that. I heard that they got in late the other night because of basketball practice, though, right?
Well, the boys, yeah. Oh, yeah. The boys go home. My older boys, they go to bed a lot later. But my little ones, they definitely go to bed. 7:00 is there. But again, sometimes they go home late because we gotta go pick up the boys or something like that. So.
Okay, that's what I was saying. So I see that people are able to see us on Twitter, but they have to click the link, which I still don't love. So I'm still going to just try to play around with this to get started, because I would like for people to see us on Twitter. I'm just going to double check, Mondrian. I'm sorry. I'm continuing to Twitter. It's, this is what happens. We have technical issues. Oh, and I do see us right there. Look at how adorable we are. I do see us on Twitter right now. So, okay, good. So people can click the link and see us. Okay. Okay. So I want to get started. You have this wonderful charity you do every year, but I want people to kind of like get to know you a little bit more, and that you're a veterinarian, Like, I want to know, because let me just say this: when I was a kid, people, I didn't know my brother was going to become a veterinarian. It wasn't like he was like, you know what? I'm gonna cure animals. I'm gonna take care of them. That wasn't the thing yet, and
it wasn't. So we're really close. We're super close. So we know.
We shared dreams. We talked about things, but that one wasn't one that I really knew about yet. So what I'm curious is, like, you were playing football in high school, and you played football in college, and then you were studying art in college. Like, when was the moment that you were like, yeah, I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start my path towards becoming a veterinarian? When did that start happening?
So perfect. So for me, it actually did start with Moja, because Moja, our dog, had puppies. And so the greatest day, really, again, one of the greatest days of my life is when I would go home and those puppies would just run around. And one of my most heartbreaking days is when Mom adopted all those puppies and we didn't get to keep one. And so that was the day I was like, man, I can't believe how much I love animals. So that was the first time. But then in high school, I actually did volunteer at an animal hospital. So Aunt Sharon got me a little volunteership thing at this animal hospital, and it was by far the greatest job I had. Because then after I had that one, again, just because I needed to get paid, I ended up having to work at all these other jobs, and stuff like that during high school.
Yeah.
And so when I went to college, though, when I went to the University of Illinois, I wanted to actually go into veterinary medicine, but because of my high school issues, I guess you would say, I did not do great in high school. They persuaded me not to go that route. They thought that it would not be. They wanted to keep me eligible. And so they kind of persuaded me to try to do something different. And so I went into something. I was like, well, I love art. And so I went into art history, even though honestly, my art history degree, I'm just going to make it clear, just as hard as my veterinary degree. Okay. It was extremely difficult. So, but again, I learned to become a really good student when I graduated with an art history degree at the University of Illinois. Again, really the day I graduated, or really before I graduated, I was like, I know what I want to do. This is what I want to do. So I graduated. I wanted to make sure I get my degree. And then I went back to school just to get my prerequisites and then go. So again, there's definitely those moments in my life leading up to that. I knew I always wanted to do this. So.
And Mojo was cute. It was an Alaskan Husky, I believe.
I think so.
And by the way, that's not the dog for New Mexico. I mean, yes, but maybe the mountains, but like not.
Agreed. Yeah,
it's too hot there for that. I would love to know what a misconception people have for your occupation. Like, what's something that people misunderstand about being a veterinarian?
There's a lot, I would say. I don't know how to focus on one, but I would say that one of them is that, when, again, so many people come in, they're like, my dog's throwing up. What is it? So, it's a great question. I don't know what it is. I don't know why they're vomiting. I do need information from you. Okay. So I want to say the biggest thing is because I get it every day. And honestly, and I love all my clients. My clients, they're so unbelievably amazing. But again, they're super, super sweet. But they constantly say, my dog's got this lump. What is it? I can't tell them always by looking at it or by you just telling me there's a lump on the phone. Like I can't, I don't know. So I think one of the biggest things is just like, okay, dogs have this and this is the only thing they have. But medicine, again, I just want to make sure they understand that medicine, there's a lot to medicine. And there's a lot to, again, just because, a cat's doing one thing and your dog is doing something, it doesn't mean that those things are the same, and they're not. And and so, and just because you can eat grapes, and it doesn't mean your cat or your dog can eat grapes. They can't, So the same thing with like milk and those things. It's like, I understand. We always try to put human things on our pets, and it's fine. But as long as they're understanding that, we have a conversation about what's going on with your pet. That's the only thing. And so we're pretty good about communicating. But I think one of the biggest things is that we know what it is by you just saying what your dog is going on with your dog, and we don't. We do need information, make a diagnosis.
The thing is too, that makes sense because you couldn't walk into a human doctor, and say like a regular physician to say like, I have a headache. What is this? It's like, well, we might need aspirin or we might need to run some tests, So it's funny that they think of it as different. So let's talk about Carol Stream Animal Hospital. When did you decide? When did you decide you wanted to like own and run this place and operate this place, and tell us a little bit about it and a little bit about the community around it? Because one of the things that I'm really proud of you for many things, I'm always proud of you, but like you guys made it through COVID. You had to kind of change some of the operations and how you went about it. So tell us a little bit about Carol Stream, about your animal hospital, and if you still kind of have any of those COVID protocols in place.
Yeah, we still have a lot of COVID protocols in place. And so I would say that our community, the Carol Stream community, is unbelievably incredible. Like, I want to say, like, from everybody from all like the government officials, the police department, the fire department, everybody they're just the greatest group of individuals. I mean, I guess I'm biased because I know all of them very like personally, but they're so amazing. It's such a great community, you know? And so, I love, you know, the volunteer work and all those type of things, and everybody that always listens to want to help with my charity event. So it's a great, tight knit, very close community, which has been wonderful. It's been the greatest thing for me. The hospital itself, you know, again, it was started in the 80s, I think, by this guy. I never met him, Gary Shire, you know, but a lot of people know who he is and things like that. Even we have clients that went to go see him. But then, you know, Gary Shire had owned that practice for a long time, and then the Sarabasis, who are two of just the most amazing, wonderful humans, all right, on the planet. They ended up buying the practice, and then they ended up hiring me from the you know, for the practice. And then I was not necessarily ready to buy the practice, but they were ready to sell the practice. So they wanted to be done. You know, they had been practicing for quite some time, extremely successful, and they wanted to go on to other things, you know, more retirement basically, right, in their life. And so John is big on his bicycles and does those type of things. You know, Elise is I know she's still trying to find some things, but she still does some like relief work, and she still does. She's still very much. I mean, she does a lot of. She's in so many groups, Rotary, and those type of things. So she does a lot. So, but how it got to own it basically was, you know, they were like, we can either sell it to a corporation or you can take it over. And I didn't want to work for, you know, I mean, a corporation.
I get that.
I have a way that I like to practice medicine. I have a way that I like to teach, and I have a way that I like to learn. And so those type of things don't always fit with a corporation, because I'm someone that loves to learn like ultrasound, endoscopy. I want to be able to do all types of surgeries. And so sometimes with these cookie cutter type of hospitals, it's just not the ability to do it. So I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that, actually. So what I'm so curious about too is, I mean, you're incredibly involved in your community. I'm the one that tells you that I think you should be the one running for office. I always say that.
No, my sister should be running for office.
But your wife has said, you shush. You do not put ideas in his head. I don't want to say it. But it's because you're so fully committed to your community. You're really involved in your community. You teach like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and cops and firefighters like how to care for animals. So, you know, tell me a little bit about what that experience is, and, you know, why that's important to you to do those things.
So one of there's so many reasons, but one of the reasons that I love to go to like the firefighters and, you know, police and everything like that, to teach them how to do simple things like what they may come in contact with, and that is CPR. And so, because it's one of the things that I've learned to do that I can teach others, and if others can do it and save, because to me, when I'm able to go out and show how much I love what I do, because I love what I do. I mean, I do it for free. I mean, every Sunday, right, we go to Chicago, my nonprofit, we go to downtown Chicago, and we provide free veterinary care for the homeless, you know, pet owners in Chicago. And so it's really, again, is about giving back, because if we're able to teach others and able to give back, you know, educate others on how important it is that, again, that pets in our environment and those type of things, these things are all united. These things are all, you know, interwoven. And so it can make them have a better appreciation for animals, for pets in our planet, and those type of things. And so I love to give back, mainly because, again, I see how much people get from it. And so, and I also see it hopefully gets a better appreciation for our profession, you know. And so again, it's one of my favorite things to do. I go into schools all the time, you know. And so again, and it's one of my favorite things to do, because I love seeing kids who love pets, and I want them, all right, I want to be the one that teaches them this is properly how dogs should eat, you know, how we should be, you know, be vaccinated, how we should be able to make sure we're picking up after them, how we should be able to be, evaluating them, because they are really, humans are the, caretakers for all these pets. And so I can teach them how better to take care of pets. Then again, we're creating, we're creating a next generation of pet owners, and people who would just have, even who may not even own a pet, what I mean? But that, again, just at least have an appreciation for, animals, and understand just what they mean to us, and, everything that they do for us, which is, quite incredible, especially support systems, things like that.
Well, exactly. And I think one of the things too, people are sometimes critical of unhoused people owning pets, but I feel like a lot of them, it's kind of a wellness aspect for them to actually have these animals.
Absolutely.
Have you been able to explain that to people and get them to understand why it is important that sometimes people have these animals with them, but that's why you're providing care?
Yeah, exactly. And so again, if we can make sure, understand how, again, because it can be, again, there's so many different aspects of it. So when people that have special needs, people who need, animals, again, help with things like, anxiety, even just being shy, dogs, and even people, bringing these pets into hospitals and those type of things, again, just to get people's morale up, to get people, just happier. And so, and I think, again, it's been shown, as far as even like allergies and things like that, kids that grow up around pets, have, again, less likely to have some of these things, or have a better tolerance for them. And so, but also too, I mean, again, even the safety aspect of it as well, teaching kids the proper way so they don't get bit by an animal. And so, so there's so many different things that we can teach our kids, about. And so, and that's one of my missions that I'm on to do, to help people and help that next generation, so that kids don't grow up thinking that it's, because a lot of the adults, I talk to them about brushing their pets' teeth, and it is so foreign. I am determined. The next generation is going to think that this is normal, so that these pets can live so much longer.
That's so great. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny that people don't realize that how teeth. I mean, it's the same for humans too. Our teeth. We have to take care of our teeth. It gives us more longevity. So tell me about this charity and how you started it. And I have the wrong title here. So explain to me.
It's just the old title. It's not the wrong. Okay. It's the old one. And so my nonprofit. So the Vet Bros Pet Education Charitable Fund. Again, it was inspired by my two children, Thomas and Matisse. All right, my two babies. Who are not babies anymore.
My nephews.
They just turned 14. But it was really inspired by them, because when I was in vet school, all right, I basically had to study with them every day. All right. And so I almost always, you could see me and my roommate, well, not my roommate, but one of my students or whatever, one of my classmates, Alexa Madura, we have her all the time. We had one baby in our arm, and we'd be studying, and we'd be studying all the time. And so they grew up around learning about pets, and they just have loved pets. And so they also, one of the things they always wanted to earn money. And I was like, well, so we started making educational videos, and that was a way for them to earn money, and for us to kind of start, putting out pieces to help educate people. And so I was like, this is such a great thing. I want to expand this. And so I kind of expanded into starting to write children's books, and wanted this nonprofit to provide assistance, because what I would do is I used to team up with the Chicago Veterinary Medical Association and the American Veterinary Medical Association, and I would team up with them to raise money for both of those organizations, to help raise money for those programs, because I really believed in what they did. And so I was doing all this work, and they were like, well, you should just get your own nonprofit, because you're doing all this work and you're raising all this money. And then you can better direct for its funds and uses on how to help people. And so I have a structure on a way I want to, because I want to both help people who can't provide for veterinary care. There's so many people out there. And so we've come up with the vet care program. And so that's been wonderful. And then I'm teaming up with Stacy Lemke, who is just amazing veterinarian, who she's the one that really, she's been doing it for years, where she goes out every one Sunday every month. She goes out and helps, again, the homeless population with their pets, and she provides free veterinary care. So I've kind of just kind of worked with her, and so my organizations and hopefully we're just kind of working together to create something, because we're going to try to make it really big. We're going to be able to provide a lot more types of care to them, because right now we're kind of just doing like, vaccines, parasite control, and we're kind of treating them in that way. But a lot of them some of these pets need a lot more, and so I want to be able to provide that type of care to those who can't. They just obviously can't afford it. So
right, and so how can people watch it, and how can people donate as well?
Excellent. So it is. So the event will be live on all of our social media accounts. So you can watch it on LinkedIn, or Facebook, Facebook, Twitter, and so you can watch it live on those stations, because we do it like this through StreamYard, and so we'll have it on those accounts. I think there's a way for me to set up on my website too. I have to figure that out, and so but we'll have all those available to be able to get people to be able to watch the show. They can donate. Go to the Vet Bros peteducation.org, and that website will, again, obviously let you you can donate. I'm hoping to get as many pets as we can. Mm-hmm. So right now the charity event is basically you can just sign your pet up. It's totally free. You sign your pet up for any of the events: best rescue, best puppy, best costume, and so you can sign your pet up. And the more pets we get, all right, again, you're just helping to save pets by just by participating in the event. And so that's
nationwide. People can sign
nationwide, anywhere across the country. You go onto our website, you can log on, you can sign your pet up, and and it would be we would love to see it, have as many pets as we can represented in this, and all pets: dogs, cats, snakes, lizards, horses, anything. All right, and so we're not limiting this year.
That's awesome. Well, so for people that always watch my replay, which I appreciate, when you guys look at the bottom and you see the two Twitter, like you see a Twitter handle and you see an Instagram handle, if you follow Mondrian and Carol Stream too, he'll be giving more information as this goes on. And is there like a deadline to enter, because you have it? The event is actually on November 14th, but so is there a deadline for people to like enter their pets into this?
Right now, we're probably gonna have it up until the week before. All right, and so between November 1st and November 7th, November 7th is when we're gonna, cut off the entries at that point in time.
Okay, so you all follow him on social media. And I do have some questions from the audience. One is: are grain-free diets for dogs good or bad? Yay or nay?
So for the most part, we don't recommend them. They're not, for the most part, they're not bad, and they're fine. It's just that there had been some diets that had been grain-free that did not have enough of a specific type of enzyme that was basically causing heart disease in our pets. And so when we were having a lack of taurine, all right, when we were having the lack of it, dogs were getting heart-related issues. And so because of that, I think the AVMA, most of the associations were put out a statement basically recommending not having grain-free diets. But just so we're clear, it wasn't every grain-free diet that was having this issue. There was only, I can't remember how many, but there was quite a few of them that did. And so those were the ones that those diets needed to be created. It wasn't all of them. So, okay. But as a general rule, there's so many great diets out there. It doesn't need to be grain-free. So I just don't, to me, it's personal preference. I just don't feel like there's a need for it. There's so many other diets that your pets can have with grain that they do absolutely fine with. And so it's just extremely rare. I don't even know if I've seen one where there's an actual grain allergy. Okay. So, and that's mainly the reason why people do the grain-free diets. And again, I think grain-free was kind of a big thing with humans. So we kind of want to start putting that on to our pets. It's not necessarily needed.
I heard not recommended, so I'm going with that.
I know. I give these roundabout answers sometimes.
No, I like it because you're just like, you can't sue me. I'm giving it this underlined, okay? That's what's happening. So I talked to you a little bit before we got on camera about the specialized costs for getting for or caring for a service animal. And mostly what I'm focused on is people that are in the disability community that are needing them for aspects of mobility or things like that. Why is the cost so exorbitant for it? And do you foresee a way for there to be alternative ways for these things to get paid for? Because to me, they kind of seem necessary, and they can be really expensive, especially if you're in the disability community and you're getting money from SSI or SSDI, like Social Security Disability Insurance, and so your money is limited, and then all of a sudden you're paying $400 to $700 for a service animal. Are there some kind of alternative ways do you see getting able to kind of get that money for those animals in a different way?
Yeah, so if we're talking about trying to get, if it's the cost of the pet, so I want to make sure we know, like, so some of these service animals, they go through, I mean, I'm not, an expert in this, but I know that some of these service animals, because I see a lot of service animals from, I mean, the type of training that they go through, I mean, this is like a year, 2 years, it's a long process. And so the manpower that it takes to get these dogs, even to training, they have to, there's so many things behavioral wise, temperament and things like that they have to pass before they can even get to the point of being qualified to be a service dog. And then once they become that, and then the type of training that is involved, it is exorbitant. I mean, that is, there's some kind of, so the biggest way I see this being able to be like paid for is basically having a, possibly a nonprofit type organization, which I'm betting there are some out there, where basically they're able to offset the cost from donors, from other, philanthropic type of organizations that can help kind of offset the cost to be able to provide these types of service animals to the people who need them. And so, and I'm sure there's quite a few out there. I can't think of off the top of my head and know about, but that's kind of the route. That's kind of the route that we would need to kind of go in to be able to get those type of pets to the right owner and get it so that the people who need it, that they can't pay for it. That would be the way to try to find the funding to get that done. Just because, again, that's it is. Those animals, there's so much training and hours, and I know that would be it's a long time for the type of training that they go through.
No, that totally makes sense, and I do understand. I just think I will also research some charities for folks that are because I've had people ask me about it because they're just like this cost is just too high for us. I want to ask you one last question, and it's like you've got these wonderful books out now, and I would love for you to tell people a little bit about them. And they're available on Amazon, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So they are available on Amazon, and so I'll plug my little book here. Hopefully, this is our little book here. All so right, the Vet Bros Pet Education, or the Vet Bros on Pet Obesity. All right, and so the great thing is that it is again 100% of the proceeds of this book go to the Vet Bros Pet Education Charitable Fund, because the mission is really to help try to save pets. So the books that I am bringing out are to basically educate people on different medical aspects of pets, and it's to help to make it so that kids understand it's simple enough for children to be able to follow, and they can help basically take better care of their pets. And I bet you they'll be able to teach their parents about it, and so, which I love. And so, and again, it's that whole cycle of basically providing better education for pet owners, providing, again, then finding a way to, and then in turn, this book is helping to offset the cost for people who are unable to care, to provide financially for their pets to save their life. And so again, it's that whole thing that we're trying to do, because that's obviously what our mission is. And so but yeah, there'll be a whole educational piece. I have the next one's already written. It's finished. It's just got to go. And that one's actually about brushing teeth. So I am super, super excited about that one as well. So this one's on obesity, but because it's one of the number one things that I see is all these, unfortunately, severely overweight cats and dogs. So I want people to understand, again, that that's not normal, and they don't have a big bone cat.
No matter what you're saying, people, to make your cat feel better, there's no such thing, okay? Just got to fess up to that. Exactly. You know, I lied. I do have one more question. And David said, he said, I'm enjoying this. Thanks for doing this. Thank you, David, for watching. I appreciate that. So I do have one more question. What do you think the number one thing is that you are teaching firefighters and police officers when you're educating them about pets? What's the number one thing that you think that they don't know, or that you get asked questions about when educating them about taking care of pets in emergency situations?
Yeah, so the number one thing I teach them is how to do CPR properly. Okay. And so I teach them the chest compressions, how we would do it on a large dog versus a small dog, kind of thing. And then the side that you put them on, the importance of, pressing on their chest, how to, if you're going to, give them a breath, how to do that properly, and those type of things. And so those are the types. So I'm trying to teach them what they would see in their emergency type of situation. And so, and the thing that they can do in those type of emergency situations. So that's mainly what I'm trying to teach them, ways that they can really hopefully help save a pet's life. So those are the things.
Well, that's so awesome. And I'm very proud of you always. Like every single day, I'm super proud of you.
Well, I appreciate this and I love you.
I love you too.
I am so excited about your campaign. And I am just, again, it's just incredible what you've been able to do. It's absolutely amazing. So we are all super excited for you.
Well, I appreciate it. We come from good stock. That's why we're
absolutely.
I'm a decent person. My brother is a great person. I just want you to know that. Contreras, 2024. Okay, so
right. That's right.
Well, I love you. I'm gonna actually do a little talk about the debt ceiling for a few minutes, but I just want to appreciate you coming in, chatting with me about this. I definitely going to remind people about it online, especially to enter their pets. I think that's exciting that people can enter their pets from across America. So so many people are so proud and love their pets and the people that they care for. Yeah, show them off. I mean, and I really want you all to really check out Mondrian's charity and what he does. And so I love you, Mondrian. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Of course, but I'm going to call you later, and I got to call my nephews and wish them a belated birthday, and probably buy them something to buy back their love. I've got to be number one.
You're number one. You're number one right now. Okay, you're number one right now. Don't worry. All right.
I got a lot of aunts and uncles to compete against. I got to get back in there to get number one.
Yeah, well.
All right. I love you.
I love you. Love you, sis.
I'll talk to you soon. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. So that was my brother, Mondrian. He's fucking phenomenal. I just cussed because he's so great. I'm sorry. I had to cuss. I'm sorry because he's phenomenal. I'm going to talk just a little bit for a second about, I'm going to talk a little bit about the debt ceiling. Okay. And the reason why I want to talk a little bit about the debt ceiling is because I'm a little frustrated with the fact that Democrats are mostly getting the blame about this one aspect. There are things to blame and be mad about the Democrats for right now, but the debt ceiling is not one. One of the things that I'm getting frustrated with, and I mentioned this last week, is that when we're talking about 2022, when we're talking about midterms, and I was talking last week a little bit about my frustration about the way that we handle funding our politics. This debt ceiling conversation, all of this stuff that is happening right now with infrastructure and arguing over the money and going back and forth. I want to simplify this. I want to distill this, and I want to tell you why this is all going on. This is going on really as a fundraising ploy for Republicans and maybe for some Democrats. All of them are trying to come out and have great clips to have in their 2022 re-election campaigns that look like they're the ones that stood strong against raising the debt ceiling, against doing all this. And that is grotesque. And if we were changing the way that we were funding politics, we would no longer have these types of disgusting battles over things that we should not be fighting. We should not have a fight right now over funding the infrastructure of the United States or the human infrastructure right now. This to me should be a no-brainer. And the reason why we're having these types of discussions, the reasons why people are fighting back and forth is to make their ads look great. So this is why, to me, not only do we need to make sure that voting rights is at the front of all of our conversations, but right next to it, the conversation also needs to be about campaign finance reform. We have to talk about campaign finance reform. Otherwise, we're going to continue to have people grandstanding every single second of the day about what we can or cannot have, because we see all of the polling. And I got into a discussion with somebody about polling online. But we're seeing that polling supports abortion rights. It supports voting rights. It supports modernizing SSI. We see that we have the data that the vast majority of the public would like to end income inequality, that they're for fixing our environment. We know that the public is all for these things. So why are these arguments still happening? Why are people fussing about this? Again, this is grandstanding to try to raise funding from. This is so that they can get on the phone and talk to donors and say, look what we did. We fought this every step of the way. And by the way, I believe that the infrastructure bill is going to go through. It might go through at 1.5 billion or 1.9 billion, and not the 3.5 that we all wanted to go through. So that it takes care of like a lot of other additional things that we really wanted. But, and I will tell you this, every Republican is going to vote against it. And then they're going to take credit for it as soon as their bridges are being built and their streets are getting fixed and their train systems are getting done. They're going to take credit for it. But in the meantime, all they're trying to do is make it so the public firmly believes, their base firmly believes, their donors firmly believe that they're fighting the good fight when they're not. So to me, I hope that this year, as we're moving into 2022 and we're moving into midterms, I hope that we can start having a real conversation about, one, voting rights. I'm going to bring this back around to abortion as well. One of the things that I was disappointed about when I went to the Women's March for abortion rights, for reproductive rights, was that I saw more people there, and I'm going to say this, I saw more white women there than I did see in Washington, D.C. fighting for voting rights. If you want to help protect our right to choose, if you want to protect reproductive rights, if you want to protect all this, you need to be protecting voting rights, because we need to be able to vote in people that are going to protect our civil rights, our human rights, our voting rights, right? And so to me, it felt a little backwards that people were coming out and saying, look, I can't believe this is happening with abortion rights, when people like me, a voting rights activist, has been yelling now for over a decade, if we're not protecting voting rights, we are not going to be able to elect legislators that are going to give a damn about any of us. And now we're seeing it. We're seeing it happening in Texas, and we don't have any idea what's going to go on with SCOTUS in December, when they're going to be ruling on whether or not Roe versus Wade even is going to be a thing anymore, right? So to me, I know a lot of people feel that maybe voting rights is something that should be on the negotiation table. It should not be. It should be the number one thing that we're caring about right now. And I know for some people, maybe they don't think that voting rights is sexy, but I'm telling you right now, if you really care about the climate crisis that we're in, if you care about the housing crisis that we're in, if you care about, we have a mental health crisis right now. That is so clear that we have a mental health crisis in our country right now. We have long-term COVID, long haulers with COVID right now, right? And all of this is because voting rights have been eroded for quite a while, definitely in 2013, but they've been eroding since then. New York, they've actually been strengthening, which is good, finally. But nationally, on the federal level, they've been eroding for a long time. And it's no coincidence that we have some of the most hardline leaders, hard right leaders on one side. And to be honest, I mean, I guess some on the left as well, because we are the only people that we're getting into office are people that are on these extreme sides. Although leftists, I'm pretty sure, are not trying to murder us, but I think Republicans are, okay? So I just want people to understand that right now. All of us should be caring about voting rights. Republicans, are not going to care about voting rights right now. This is not on their agenda. They don't care about this. This is not something that they want to do. Why? Because if we have voting rights, a lot of Republicans would have to start changing their stances on things. If all of us were able to access the ballot box without impediment, if every American citizen could do that without impediment, all of a sudden you're going to see a vast sea change of what's going on. Okay? And that is why a lot of Republicans are recognizing that. They are also recognizing that they do not have the numbers anymore to win in these elections. And so they have to suppress the vote. And because they are doing that, because they realize that, they have to be more extreme in how they are approaching policy, how they are discussing policy, because they are pushing fear through their base in order to galvanize them and move them forward. And I will also say, and I was just discussing this with a friend the other day, Republicans are using these things as galvanizing tools, and Democrats are still not really good at galvanizing people. And I know it's harder for Democrats to galvanize people. I've discussed this for a very long time. One of the reasons why it's harder to galvanize Democrats is because we have a large tent, and we have different things that are of concerns for all of us. But I think that there are things that people can galvanize Democrats on. One is the student debt issue. Not just like getting rid of all of it just to get rid of all of it, but to have a real cogent discussion on it, right? To me, it's like, I think we can get rid of, for example, we got rid of some debt within the disability community, right? But we should next be moving towards veterans, and we should be moving towards Black women that are holding the longest amounts of student debt. And then we should give a path to everybody to expunge student debt, right? Because to me, if you're someone that's coming from a really wealthy background and you've amassed a lot of student debt at Harvard, to me, I don't really see why we are rushing to expunge your debt. However, if it's an exorbitant cost and you're somebody that wants to be a public servant to this country, and that is a way to expunge student debt, I'm all for that. And so to me, I feel like there should be a path for everybody to get rid of their student debt. However, I think that it needs to be targeted, right? I think that for someone like me, I have 6 figures of student debt, right? I should be the first one that says, get rid of all of it. But even I am saying, well, let's look at what's going on here. We know that we have some people like myself that signed their lives away at the age of 18 to go to college. And I needed to get student loans in order to do that. And because I still would get these, terrible low wage jobs that so many of my friends get, even if we're wanting higher paying jobs, we're not getting them still. It's harder for us to pay off that student loan, which means we're getting compound interest, which means the student loan is growing and growing and growing. And this is why a lot of Black women are having student loans the longest, because we're dealing with discrimination. We're dealing with the fact that we've got a wage gap going on. Because we have less opportunities that are going on. And that is why I'm saying that we need to do a more targeted approach in that front. Okay. But I think that Democrats can win on on the student loan issue. I think that Democrats could win on the economic inequality issue. I think that there's so many winning issues that Democrats can talk about that would be uniting the entire party. However, right now it's very clear, like I said yesterday, I was getting really frustrated because I saw that Biden was negotiating with the HBCU money, right? And then I saw that he was negotiating with the Hyde Amendment. So then it occurs to me that Biden and these other white men are starting to look at Black women, BIPOC people. They're looking at the disability community as bargaining chips. And I'm sorry, I'm tired of us being used as bargaining chips. I've been busting my ass for years for free to try to get people into the voting booth, to get them to understand their voting rights, to understand where their polling locations are, to help organize. And then all of a sudden they're saying, well, if you wouldn't mind waiting your turn. I'm sorry. We're done waiting our turn about this. We understand negotiations. We understand compromise. Hello. We've been subjected to nothing but compromise since 1865, right? But we're done. So to me, it's time to be a little bit more, I need the Democratic Party a little bit to step up, because the Republicans aren't going to do that. I don't want to leave I'm going to leave you all with this. I don't want to leave Republicans out of the conversation. I don't want to be like, let's not blame the Republicans. The Republicans, to me, are just this non-entity now. They are a group of people that are firmly anti-democratic, right? So all we have left to bargain with is Democrats. Republicans are not interested in creating equity. They're not interested in justice. They're not interested in paying fair share of taxes. They're not interested in any of these things. So we only have the Democratic Party to deal with. Okay. And so we just want stronger leadership, right? We want people to come out and to say, listen, we firmly believe that civil rights are non-negotiables. We're not going to be negotiating with human rights anymore. We're not going to be negotiating with civil rights anymore. And for God's sakes, we're not going to negotiate with voting rights. I'm tired of people thinking that those things are negotiable. They're not negotiable, right? Talking about how much money we're going to spend on roads, talking about how much money we're going to spend on train stations. I guess we can negotiate that, right? That can be negotiable. But by negotiating civil rights, human rights, and voting rights, we have to stop pretending that there are two valid sides to the equation about that. There just aren't. Okay? All right. So I have a busy week, but I will come back on Tuesdays. I know today is Wednesday, but I'll come back on Tuesdays to talk about the issues. Thanks for letting me rant and rave again. Also, I was very proud with how we finished our last quarter, but I'm still obviously now in my next quarter, which means we're doing more fundraising. You're going to see me out there more, talking to more people. My favorite thing is connecting with people. But go to my website, electmaya.com. If you're interested in me speaking to any of your groups or coming to talk to people in person, just let me know. You can send me an email at info@electmaya.com. And that's it. It was so good to see you all. Thank you for checking out my conversation with my brother, Mondrian Contreras. He really, truly, listen to me. You know that the system is broken when someone like my brother, who's like this brilliant man, is like, I'm not running for office. I never want to do that. But I'm proud of you, sis, for doing it. I hope, encourage people like my brother to be people who run for office. Because this is a guy that is, he spends his life being a public servant. My mom taught us to be fully engaged citizens, to give back all the time, no matter what our economic circumstance. And that's what my family is like, and that's what we do. So I hope you follow my brother online, and I will talk to you all next week. Okay, bye.